Welcome to the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters, and welcome to the end of the college football season. I suspect that on the live show this week there will be a lot of Washington fans, and in the rest of Roosters, coming in on Monday night to watch the national championship game. That's Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox. I'm Austin Ward. Nicole, everybody's coming in to cheer for Washington in here or what?
I definitely think so.
Okay.
Yes. Everyone that wants to watch the game, I'm assuming that 99% will be Washington fans.
I don't know. You might have 10% trolls. 1% might be a little low. I think
you're still going to have a little bit of some of the people who root for the Big Ten every year, no matter what.
Why do
right?
people do that?
Well,
I used to be one of those people.
Why did you do it,
because
JZ?
we used to be proud to be from Big Ten country. Growing up,
We used
on
to
the
be a
back of
proper
our
country,
on
as
the back of our
JZ said.
conversion van, we had the tire cover, and it was life is tough in the Big Ten, and Brutus was standing on everybody else.
Oh.
It used to mean
That's
a lot
cool.
growing up about the Big Ten and the 10 teams that played in it.
What a logo.
It's not that way anymore.
you know, I still want the Big Ten. I cheer for the Big Ten. in the bowl
Washington
games.
is a Big Ten
Well,
team.
fair, not yet.
And they are, and they're on their way in. And that Michigan-Alabama game was tough. Like, I was probably slightly pulling for Michigan over Alabama, but it was like, I mean, you have, like the worst people of all time, and you get one bullet, Hitler and Toby. Who you,
yeah, which
who
one
are you
do
going to use it on? But I pray that Washington wins this game. They're a very easily lovable team too.
Right.
Like, they have Michael Penix Jr.,
Great
the
story.
three-star guy. I mean, listen, he beat the last time he played Michigan, he beat them. Beat Penn State too. You show me another Indiana quarterback that beat both Michigan and Penn State in the same season. So
Is there one? Is he the? He's got to be the only one.
Gotta be.
because they did back with Anthony Thomas and those guys back in the day. Penn State wasn't there, so they're a team that you really like. Kalen DeBoer is a great guy. It's just a great story. They've been the underdog all year, even when they were beat Oregon and played them again. They were still the underdog by almost 10 points. So I want to see them win. I don't know if I can handle Jim Harbaugh in the post game.
I don't know if it's. I think it's the Michigan fans that are going to be the worst to deal with.
I
mean,
don't
even
know.
through what they went through this season, they're just like blatantly for not even paying attention to what it is, and no way, we're going to fight this, and blah blah blah. And like, so if they go win, even if in one day it is vacated, it's still gonna be like, well, we still won it on the field. That doesn't blah blah. It's going to be terrible.
So you have a team of destiny or the Connor Stallions All-Stars. That seemed.
By the way,
I think
Connor Stallions at the game.
Yeah, it had a nice seat, good view.
I think Nicole's right. It won't even just be in Columbus that it's 90%.
Oh no, I
would
think
imagine.
every state other than Michigan, everybody is pulling for Washington. They're a very lovable team. Like, it's tough to not like Washington. Like, they're not polarizing in any sense.
No.
They're very likable people. They wear a lot of hemp necklaces up there, hang out, chill.
Got a cute mascot.
Yeah, they got a little husky.
Husky running
they're
around.
a good husky. They're tough to own because
They shed like crazy.
They shed like crazy. They're skittish. They dig all kinds of holes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tough to. They don't train very well, but
Get them
it's
on
all
a football
good.
field,
Yeah.
though. They fly around and score some points.
You
By
guys,
the way-
fun fact, I had a Washington starter jacket when I was in
Really?
middle school.
Okay.
Yep.
Can
And
you
I
go
wish
dust that
for
off
the
tonight?
I just wish for the life of me I could remember why I had that.
I was going to
I
ask.
had a
what?
Baylor one back in the day.
Yeah.
Baylor?
Yeah.
It's
It was,
so
probably- it, was
random.
it was one of those starter ones that pulled over.
Yeah, with the flap. I've got
Green and yellow,
Yeah.
and I think it was like discounted, and that was
I
my
think
starter
that must
jacket.
be
I got.
why I got
I was
it
like,
too.
why do you have a Baylor jacket?
So I have my Charlotte Hornets one from that I got
Ooh,
when I was in
that's
like
pretty
4th or
awesome.
5th, and then I got one in
Do you
like.
still have it?
Yeah, my son wears it.
He still
now.
wears it.
My son, listen, that thing was $120. My mom moved heaven and earth to get that thing.
Yeah.
She had my uncle and his wife who lived in Raleigh go because you couldn't find the Hornet. That was back with
No.
Larry Johnson and
You
Morning.
couldn't find any starter
Yeah,
jackets.
and so then I got an Ohio State one, like what was it, seventh or eighth grade, 6th, 7th or 8th, somewhere in there. So I was like, when I sized up, I got that one, and that one probably is close to fitting me still. I think it's like an adult large, but RJ's probably into that one now. And I'll have to have my
love that
mom
you
bring
keep
it up.
them.
Yeah.
Well, my parents don't throw anything away. They had
What parents do?
they were all like in the closet. Like if I was popped back in the DeLorean and like walked back in 4th grade into my house, I could probably go find enough clothes to be able to still function as a human.
100%.
I had the Dallas Cowboys starter jackets.
I had a Dallas Cowboy locker in the room.
Yeah.
A little locker.
Yeah. So
But you've got the CJ Stroud on, by the
Yeah,
way.
see-
Wearing
That's
it proudly,
beautiful.
too.
You
Isn't it
should.
pretty great, guys.
You want to know something?
Jay-Z's worried about Saturday now.
I'm not worried. I just feel bad that we're gonna have to do that to CJ.
It is.
It's been fun to watch.
Of all the teams in the AFC, I'm like, I pull for I like the Bills because how can you hate Buffalo? They get crapped on with everything.
And because Josh Allen is a golden god.
And Josh Allen's awesome. Cleveland, obvious reasons. And then CJ because he's Ohio State. I'm like, why in the first round?
I know.
I wanted them to beat Jacksonville, but I'm like, if that happens, then they're going to be the
I feel the
division
same way.
winner.
I do, because it's like when the Bengals, went to the Super Bowl. It's like you would be so excited for the Browns, but unfortunately, I can't feel that way right now, just because the Texans have made history and they're in the playoffs. And
if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, I don't.
There's a
he has to.
There's no way he won't.
I don't say that.
At this point, especially once he's locked up the playoff bid and going in, there's
locked up the playoff, but they won the division.
Well,
they had the second pick last year. They were terrible. Nicole knows. She watched all the
She was
losses.
in the top 5 didn't they? From a trade.
I don't know if she was watching all the losses, but she's been watching every win since then. That's for sure.
When did you purchase the sweatshirt? Was it?
Well, it's Bronson's, so
cool.
I was like,
Just
buddy,
needed it for the show.
I've got to wear
last
that.
night.
I've got to wear. Well, he wanted me to wear it too. I mean, we've just been wearing a lot of Texans gears lately, at the house. But I was talking to Eric over the weekend just because we were our family was so excited. And Eric that we work with, he's starting to love the Texans because we love the Texans. He's like, you need to give CJ an honorary Buckeye leaf. I was like, yeah, I do.
Of course, he's definitely getting one.
He has the third most passing yards ever in the NFL rookie season for an NFL rookie.
How about this? So I took my youngest son up to Strongsville. They have this toboggan run up there at one of the Cleveland Metro Parks. It's awesome. The night before we go to the Scene 75, it's like an arcade, but they have TVs
awesome.
TVs in the middle.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching the Steelers and Ravens. I'm like, okay, this is kind of how you thought it would go. And then one of the other TVs, they had the Colts and Texans playing. I'm like, wait, it was 18-10. I'm like, gosh, CJ, what are we doing? This is a big game. I'm like, and I just couldn't but why would the NFL put these on together? And then after checking my phone, because I'm like, I could see maybe a little stagger. They're almost simultaneous. I'm like, oh, it was on NFL Network. And I was wondering why both teams were 0-1, and it was because it was the second game of the season. So I was like, this can't be right. There's no way they're playing this poorly. CJ's so much better than this now. And alas, I was duped. But they did win the game and won in a big way.
I know.
So that's a big one. We already know that you're picking the Texans in that. Do you think on Monday night, Nicole, if Michigan wins or loses, which does that mean more for Ohio State? What do you want to happen?
I am conflicted. I'm confused about why they're allowed to play in this game. I really am, because when we had Tattoo Gate, we weren't eligible for a bowl game or the national championship. So I just feel. No,
we got to play in the Gator Bowl that year, though.
Yes, we did take that one.
Okay.
We took that trip.
But regardless, I just feel.
Beautiful Orlando.
It's if there's that much drama and you cheated, what kind of standard is that setting? And standard's not the right word.
Then the quarterback comes
it is the word on this show.
Everybody else was.
We had to level up.
We had to level up and figure it out.
Actually,
I can't even believe that they are so publicly embracing that part.
Mind blowing.
J.J. McCarthy coming out there they were cheating and it was legal, but we had to figure out a way to level the playing field. Okay, cool. Congrats on
No.
So they've been trying to make this case all along. Oh, the players didn't know about it, even though they're the ones over there on the sideline being like, hey, here it comes, just pass. Everybody had to be aware of it. It's so ingrained on that sideline.
Permeated the culture.
Permeated the culture, Bob. You just can't deny it. And they're not even bothering. All of them are just saying it.
There's never been a denial that it happened.
Not even once.
No. I give them credit for that.
Oh, it was them over there.
They've handled this in a way. It's just how are you?
It's the number one thing in life, though. In life, with your job, in games, anything, you don't cheat. Cheating is it's just disgraceful, And so that's the only thing I'm just having a lot of trouble with understanding. If that's what they did, then how are they allowed to play? Now, I do have a side. Let's take the cheating out of it, okay? Although this is probably why they're good, is because they cheated.
That definitely helped.
So I guess, but if they were, let's say they didn't cheat and they really were this good to play in the national championship, then it makes me feel better about us losing to them, because then it's they're just really good this year, but they cheated. So you can't really say that. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. I think we thought they were going to be a good team coming back. Before any of this stuff came out, it was just, guys came back. They have guys who maybe stay a little bit longer or want to come back for that last year.
You're like 40 seniors on this team.
And so they were going to be good, but then you find this out. It's just like, whoa, hold on. Now we can kind of look back to the years and see what happened and just be like, it really does put a stain on it. Mm-hmm. But back to, you got to let them play because we got taken out of the 2012 bowl game. Mm-hmm. It happened in 2010, so the NCAA doesn't do anything fast. So they're not going to come down and say, well, we're not going to let them play. They got to go through their year-long process of whatever it is that they do there.
That needed to be self-imposed for the 6-6 season. I mean, that's just an unconscionable
But then we wouldn't
decision,
have been able to lose to Florida in the Gator Bowl.
I know. And what a blessing that opportunity was for Ohio State.
It was. I mean, that's how we got Urban.
I do think that it's
there you go.
It's fascinating to look at. So the way that Jay-Z's talking about, Big Ten pride and all that, I've never understood that.
Well, you're from Wyoming.
Of course. But any conference, even when I covered Tennessee and it was the SEC chance for whatever game,
because Tennessee doesn't win anything, so they had to glom on.
That's
it just means more here in the SEC.
But they didn't do that for Alabama, or they didn't do that for Georgia, and it seems weird to me that Ohio State not everybody feels this way. Well, I just want the Big Ten to win. Like my father-in-law is that way. Oh, Michigan should win. And
not them. Not them. I can handle maybe someone else. Sure. Not after all of this everything that's happened. I wanted them to get here though, because revenge. It's a dish best served cold.
I wanted Bama to give that to them.
I told someone that don't you want them to win? I go, I don't lose. I go, I want them to win every game until they get to Ohio State. Because if they come in at 6-5, a loss, it's just another loss. Mm-hmm. But when you have the reason why it sucked this year is because you realized
what was on the line.
What was on the line, and you were so close, and you're right there.
And that's how you want it to be every year, in my opinion. I mean, that game matters the most out of any other game, and when you put that on top, there's so much into it. It's the best. It's the best
feeling when you win, and it's the worst feeling when you lose.
You know what dish is best served warm, Bob?
Cheesy bacon wedges.
Sell it to 'em, Bob.
Now, these are fantastic. Multiple folks prior to the show said, if you're going to go with any type of dairy and bacon on any type of potato, the wedge is the superior.
These are the ones.
Because
it's the supreme delivery device.
Because it's got the girth to be able to hold
it's almost like a spoon with the cheese and the bacon.
Scrape it up in there, shovel it in your gut. It's $3 all day long, Tuesday at Roosters. Appetizer Thursday.
Yes, Appetizer Thursday. That's big.
That's our sign for Appetizer Thursday.
All this, we're going to keep adding it on. So Nicole, she's like, no, that's too much. Yeah. We were fine with the name change.
Yep, guys.
We're not going to have the hand signals for it. I love it. I think it's beautiful. So the season ends tonight. Ohio State already deep, Bob, into the offseason stuff. You add a new quarterback primarily. There's a distinct possibility that a running back will be on the way. Ohio State added Alabama's center. That's a pretty jam-packed week right there.
They got, what's his name from Ohio University? Their tight end.
Yeah,
so come in.
He was the first one he started the whole thing.
He did.
Will Keckner.
So you think they're going to bring in, from
Quinshon Judkins.
Quinshon Judkins. You think they're going to bring in Judkins? Is that because Trey is leaving? Is that with Trey? Is that where's our head at with this?
Not a mutually exclusive situation.
Really? So you think him and Trey can coexist?
I believe that they can. I don't know. I'm not making a prediction.
How many years left does Judkins have?
2. I read 2.
I think that both of them would be expecting for one more year in college.
So they're both going to be Judkins
could stay beyond that.
But next year he'll be a junior.
Yeah.
So he's a sophomore. Okay. That's all I need to know. Okay. You think they'll both be here?
I'm not going to make...
That's a lot of jam.
When does Trey have to know by?
Next Friday. Monday?
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
I'm not making a crystal ball prediction for Trey. I'm making one for Judkins.
Really? You think...
But I think he is on board
no matter what,
regardless of Travion.
Really?
Yes.
Number one, I know NIL is a big piece in this. There's a lot of dollars. There's a lot of hungry mouths.
A lot of beans.
Because you got to think, like Jack Sawyer, there's a lot of guys coming back. We've already acquired. Ohio State's pulled some dudes out of the portal.
Tyler Williams.
You had a pretty nice recruiting class that you were able to scramble up there at the end. That's just
making it rain.
Yeah, I mean, at some point,
let's go.
I'm just curious, like, if the dollars to Judkins are those allocated from Trey or from somewhere else, like how all that works.
I don't believe that Travion's NIL opportunity has been yanked in favor of Quinshon Judkins.
Well, that's why I just didn't know if they were waiting. Like, okay, Trey, if you leave, Judkins, you're coming in. This is what we've got for this position. You're the A1 starter at running back.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out how all this is going to work.
So are we giving these guys starting spots with this money?
Well, I don't think you're giving them starting spots, but
I'm just teasing.
You're allocating dollars to positions. Yeah. It's a little bit professional sports-esque. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's truth to that.
There, 100%. I just was curious.
So we'll see. Travion, the ball is in his court. I think what Ohio State has done here with Judkins is there is an option A and the optimal outcome, which is keeping them both and having a 1-2 punch. And both of these guys have a lot of miles on the tires already.
Oh, they ran the crap out of Judkins at Ole Miss.
He's got, I think, 2,600 yards in the last 2 years, 31 touchdowns. I mean, he's a very productive SEC back. And Ole Miss was talking about
he was the best player on their team.
Trying to, win a national championship.
Why do you think he left, Austin?
I suspect that when you talk about dollars and cents there, Bob, that Ole Miss was making it rain with all these people outside their program. And
they brought in a lot in the portal.
Perhaps not doing as much to retain their current roster,
well,
which has been Ohio State's strength, Nicole. You look at these guys making their decisions, and even a year ago, there was an offer to C.J. Stroud that went up to the deadline. He was never going to come back to school, but C.J. and Paris Johnson, they both had opportunities.
What about $20 million for Marv?
We've already mocked the Marv deal, but the point is still that Ohio State knows the primary way to strengthen its roster is by keeping its roster together.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's important.
Well,
you got to take care of the guys that are putting in the work.
Well, Nicole, it's like anything. I mean, you guys have a bunch of stores, all this stuff with Roosters. Wouldn't you rather just pay your managers and team members to do a good job as opposed to letting them walk and bringing someone else in who
100%.
may be good, but you've got to retrain them? How do they fit in with everybody else? There's an element of hey, I understand these people might be really talented. Are they really better than what we have? And then what's it take to get them on the team as far as focus?
We 100% align with that. Every single one of us, I started as a hostess. We either start as a hostess or a dishwasher, and then you work your way up, and it's the whole company. So, and we pay our managers. We appreciate them. And that gives them, if you pay them very well, it gives them incentive. They feel appreciated, so they work harder and they believe in what they're doing.
And they're not just going to jump to another.
They're not looking.
Organization.
Don't have people looking for other opportunities.
Exactly. Take care of the people you have that know how to do the job.
If they come with you, honest conversation. Hey, this is where we're at. I need here. If you're well, I don't think so. Well, there might be times where that is the case, but other times, if you can make things right, try to make things right the best that you can.
Absolutely.
As opposed to trying to put out a fire on the backside of it, which is then a lot worse. And so that's why I
you think going to the portal is trying to put out a fire of sorts?
It is, because you're bringing in something. Now, it's different if some guy leaves and goes to the NFL or whatever, and you have injuries. There's certain things.
When you're bringing in people to replace the guys you have
guy that already
team,
left.
Or guys you have maybe coming back.
It's not great.
It's a very thin line, I feel like. We have this money. Because, Trey could say, all right, that's fine. You're bringing this guy in. I'm out. Because my money is not going to be the same, or I could have had more.
Well, we know by next Monday's show.
Yep. And I think that, again, I am not going to speak for Travion. It did seem like when he opted into the Cotton Bowl, there was a lot of momentum at that time, and I don't know of anything different now for his decision to stay or go. I think he was leaning towards coming back. I think, ultimately that would be where I bet. But I don't have any. I'm not reporting that he's going to do that.
I think they can coexist. I think Trey is great at that.
And so this goes all the way back to his recruitment, where right before
he came in with what's his name,
Evan Pryor. So Berm and I were planning this trip, and we were going to go see Evan Pryor. And
Berm was staked out at Evan Pryor's bedroom.
Well, I actually
Jim Harbaugh got the idea from him.
I went along with Berm to keep him under control in the parking lot, and. We're going to add Travion Henderson before we go down to see Evan Pryor. So really, this, because Evan Pryor's a high 4-star, he's already going to be.
He's the number 5 back in the class.
So I'm how are they going to get the number 1? How are they going to get them together? Well, Travion Henderson and Evan Pryor were making a conscious decision. Saying, we want to get to our second NFL contract. The best way to do that is to share the workload, to not have to be the primary guy, to take 350 carries a year. So Travion has already embraced that part of his career.
That is amazing.
And the physicality. And now
it's really smart business for those guys. The NFL doesn't care whether you have 4,000 yards or 2,000 yards in college. If you can play, you can play. So they'd rather have you with 2 as opposed to the extra miles.
So I think, again, if this is option A, the optimal outcome for Ohio State, that both Judkins and Travion Henderson, who've had to take probably a larger share of the workload than they would have anticipated getting into college, I think they would probably say, we're fine with that setup. That's good for Ohio State. That's good for Quinshon Judkins. That's good for Travion Henderson. If Travion chooses option B, well, Ohio State's found a replacement that can be their starting running back. Either way, they're covered.
I like that. That sounds like a pretty good plan.
love it.
I think. I mean, what do we have? Who do we have in there? Then we'd have
Dallin Hayden.
him, Dallin Hayden, and
then
and
true,
whoever
true
else.
Freshman.
Yeah, true freshman. So I mean, I think the last couple of years have showed us that we need maybe 3 guys in that room that we can
You
trust
need
to get
3
out there.
dudes that you can play.
You can play.
Well, Trey's missed time every year. And
Well,
like
100%.
And I get that.
That's
so
why if you're this kid coming in here saying, man, he hasn't played a full year since maybe his freshman year.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said,
I'm gonna
Trey
get
would
plenty of
welcome the
carries.
fact that, like, you know what?
Yeah, he's older now. He's a little more mature. Like he would understand and get that.
But and
Not
that's
that
the
he
thing. I
hasn't
think he's
already.
always been that
Yeah.
mature and
Mhm.
always understanding of the benefit for himself and the team.
How amazing is that for a teammate, for a guy? I mean, just that is so, I just love that he thinks that way and to catch on to that concept because that will take him further, you know?
He's
Big
a
time.
sharp guy.
I mean, where are we at? And I know that we'll get positive Berm on.
Are you
Berm
sure we're
is
getting
positive.
Are you sure we're getting positive,
Oh,
Berm?
right. I don't know.
He's pumped.
It's just cloudy. It's just cloudy where he is,
No.
you know? It's always
No.
cloudy.
Gray
No,
skies.
Yeah.
Berm always, deep down, he always finds the good. He does.
Deep, buried, like at the core of the earth. Where are we at with the coaching situation, Austin? Like, where do we feel like
that
we're
is
going?
the $1 million question.
That sounds like the second part of the show.
Okay.
We're gonna get into it.
Nicole, her favorite part of her job is firing people, she said.
Oh, no, we
No,
talked
you
about
can
this
totally
before.
She
the
sits
show
there
started.
like Donald Trump, you're fired.
fired.
It's,
You're fired.
You're
You're
fired.
Nope.
I don't think
Yeah.
Nicole
Can you
ever.
imagine me trying
I
to
imagine
fire
Nicole
someone?
like
I bet she never
crying
watched-
as
I
she's
would.
selling.
No, she
I'd
did not
probably
watch The
give
Apprentice.
half
There's
my
no way.
salary. I'd be like, you know what?
I'm so
Until
sorry
you find
about
a job,
this.
you can have half my
Just
salary.
give me your bills. I'll pay them.
Yep, I would. I just would feel so awful.
Hey, one of the best lines ever is I was talking to John Simon about this today. Is we were getting it always goes back to different urban meetings and things. In the first meeting they had, I forget he was pointing at one of the random offensive linemen. Oh gosh, I don't know who it would have been.
What, the ones that showed up late for the first
Well,
meeting?
and he got a list of all the stuff the guys have been getting in trouble and everything. He's like, and you, he's like, Coach such and such, little Timmy didn't have Christmas this year because he got fired because you couldn't block anybody at Purdue. Like, he's like, Dad, can I get a Christmas present? No, we got fired because I am. It was so, I was like, that is awesome. And John's like, it was true, but I've never heard anybody
Yeah,
say
you never
that.
heard Coach tell a player that. That's tough.
Oh man.
That's why I'm here, because of you.
No Christmas. Cancel.
No.
Canceled Christmas because we can't block a 5 technique.
Hey, but it turned around
Wow.
Andrew Norwell's life.
Was that Norwell?
I don't know.
It may have been.
I think.
Hey, Norwell wanted to be the highest paid
yeah,
guard
he
in the
did,
NFL at one point. Good for him.
I'm
If that was
thankful I don't
Norwell,
have to do that job. So
If it wasn't, I'm sure that Reed Fragel will correct us about who it was. So we'll get.
Reed will definitely know. He was there.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of that, or Zach, since he was also pushing back pretty hard against Urban Meyer at that time. So Monday night at Roosters, if you don't want to watch it here, which would be just a crazy decision, you can get carryout.
absolutely, either way, it's great.
Hold on.
So.
I also have a question for you. Now, the Chiefs and
Peacock.
Ooh.
Peacock
The
game.
You
Dolphins
guys
are
are
on
Chiefs and
Peacock.
Dolphins.
Chiefs and
Yes.
Dolphins, you guys are still
Exclusively on.
you guys are still set up for the cock
Yes.
right here in the Roosters.
Peacock, yes.
Perfect.
That's,
I know that we did it before the Buckeye game. I didn't know if that was like
kept it going.
a
Oh,
temporary.
we
Didn't
He
cancel.
men's
signed
basketball
a year,
that they need to
year
keep it for.
contract.
Okay,
Year
well, I know
contract.
there was a lot of
Yep.
things.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't
they-
know if it was like, tethered together with some,
No,
know.
I get
When
it.
I went to the Ohio State game, they were like, we're doing year contracts and that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
They knew
because
what
they
were
also
doing.
have the Buckeye basketball games.
They do.
The Soups
A
games
few
will be
of
there.
them.
And that means on the 28th, you can stream the Royal Rumble at Roosters. So
Hey.
that's-
Yes.
Ooh, nice.
yeah.
I
Yes.
didn't know they still did those things.
Oh,
Are they still
yeah.
rumbling?
it's more popular than it's ever been.
Really? I don't think it will ever get more popular than 1998, 1999.
Well,
I don't know.
I
Stone
agree.
In
Cold
my
Steve
household,
Austin.
I grew up in the Attitude Era as well,
Yes,
Jay-Z,
yes.
but I'm telling you, it's better
Attitude
than
Era.
it's been in 25 years.
Is that
The
right?
Eras,
And
the Eras
also-
I'm
tour.
going to have to get back in on
And
it.
also because The Rock came back last
I saw a
week.
clip
yeah,
of him being
I
back.
saw that.
So, that helps. You got to latch on a little bit to the Attitude Era. But anyway, the point was that the Texans are going to be on this weekend.
They are. They'll be playing the Browns.
The Peacock streaming exclusive game will be on
Yes.
Saturday at Roosters.
Correct.
And tonight, the National Championship
Yes.
game will be as well.
Yes.
And
What a
carry
week.
out is an
Carry
option.
out, absolutely. Carry
It's the
out
best.
and call us if you want carry out for these weekend games, anything. So
Okay, perfect. All right, Nicole's going to go back to her real job. We're going
firing people,
and we're going to talk about other people's jobs.
Best way to start off the new year, Nicole. Unemployed.
When Berm gets in here for the second half of the live show in the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters, which is a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. Berm is here.
Hey, Berm.
Hey.
Bob predicted that you were in a great mood.
I'm in a fine mood.
A fine mood?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why you're going to slander Huskies.
I love Huskies.
As a person who owns a Husky,
But all the things I said were true.
Do they not shed?
Yeah, like when they're a puppy, those things are true. Like
my neighbor's dog was like 3 or 4 years old.
Neighbor
So your dog is trained well.
Get their dog to respect them.
That's probably true. I don't think they had any type of formal training or tried to train them really themselves.
My
but
dog,
that son of a gun would dig holes and just run wild through the yard under the fence.
My dog has no formal training. Her name is Psycho, so you should understand that there is obviously.
So what we were saying is
you're dealing with
negative Berm.
You're dealing with something here, but she at least respects my authority.
So
Yeah,
she acknowledges you as the alpha of the
Yes,
pack.
100%.
That's good. They're fast. They're a little skittish.
She's. I wish she was more skittish.
Really?
She's like the most ridiculously friendly. I need everyone's attention all
Really?
the time.
High energy.
High energy. Yeah.
That's the other thing. Does she like fish?
She likes anything she can put her mouth on.
That's my neighbor's dog. But like when people would cook fish, she would just jump and grab the fish. Which most dogs, I mean, they'll eat a lot of stuff.
She has at times like got up on the stove and taken a full pound of like raw turkey and eaten it. She's eaten like 3 sticks of butter.
That's good with the bones in there. Good with the bones in there.
She's definitely not afraid to eat whatever is on the counter.
So she's alive despite eating turkey bones.
Yeah. She's good.
Kudos to
Solid.
Bob, this new version of Bob in 2024 that just completely ignored you saying she likes anything she can put her mouth on.
Well, it's a dog. Let's be clear. That's
listen.
Doesn't mean that the words didn't register.
But here's
Bob's
the thing: in
brain.
2024, it's more of a judge-free zone.
Judgment-free zone.
Like dog, human, whatever. I mean, peanut butter, no peanut butter. Everything's in play.
I listened to the first segment of the show, and
good.
Will Howard's name did not get mentioned.
Well, I was.
We alluded to the quarterback.
Seth McLaughlin's name did not get mentioned.
Is it McLaughlin or McLaughlin?
Like Sarah?
Sarah McLaughlin.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna McLaugh.
Right.
We did talk
Wiggity
about
Glock.
the transfer pickups, but I thought you would want to weigh in on the quarterback situation in this part of the show.
And he's right. I mean,
by the way,
what
he
we've
goes
heard-
by Billy.
What we've heard on Quinshon Judkins is that there is at least a willingness on his part to split carries for that very reason. Like he's carried the ball a lot.
Lane
the last
gave
2
me
years.
the ball prep time the last 2 years.
He's carried the ball a lot, and I think that a player like Travion Henderson, who's obviously dealt with his injury issues over the last couple of years, could, if he does return, could see some value in not needing to be the full-time guy every snap. So, plus, you're looking at potentially a 16-game season.
Oh, yeah.
So you need depth. This is not, this is the problem when you're heading into the expanded playoffs. Like, you can't go into this with 2 running backs. I mean, you're going to need more, even if Travion leaves.
Last year they needed 5.
I think Ohio State should go out and find another one. Even if
that.
Travion leaves, I think that you have to. You can't just still ride into it with 2 scholars.
We can't be riding these freshmen if something goes down.
If you were to
James Peoples looked great on Saturday.
Well, he did. I did watch some of that. Yeah.
Would you Berm crystal ball? What do you think if you had to put the vast Berm estate on whether or not Trey is coming or going? Let's play a little rapid fire.
I mean, 2 weeks ago, I thought the answer was clear cut that he was returning. I don't know that I feel that way now, but that's simply because I think there is what you guys were alluding to when we broke for the break. When we broke for the break, that
What else were we
you
break
don't
for?
know what could happen coaching staff wise at this point, and Tony Alford's contract needs to be rewritten or he could move on, and so you have an opportunity. I don't know, for someone that is as personally connected as Travion is to Tony Alford, I don't know if he would be like offended or decide that was the sign he needed to move on to the NFL. Even though you'd have a different coach next year one way or the other, I think that you have these personal connections with a guy that Tony Alford has basically been Travion Henderson's father for the last 4 years. It becomes it changes the tenor of the conversation at least a little bit, I think.
JT Tuimoloau.
I think he's going to go to the NFL.
when you asked about the
NFL and not
making it rain,
yeah,
I don't think Ohio State can afford to retain JT.
for what he would
For what we've heard, he may be
asking.
Which is
Are you
that's the
surprised
hardest.
that he wouldn't get in the portal?
Yeah, would he go
then?
portal?
He
then?
can't go in the portal
It's
until
too
the
late
end of
now.
spring.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to sit out through the spring, and I think that would be.
Yeah, I don't think
A weird
anybody
choice.
his
I
situation
think you could
is
just
really.
sue. You could just sue the
worried about-
NCAA.
Well,
I
he
mean,
could do that. Yeah.
He could
if you
very-
start practicing, what are they going to do? Not let you play in the fall?
Yeah, he could stand up. He could go on Twitter. He could go on Twitter and say, "I'm transferring to USC at the end of spring." And
Well, how did you pick USC?
It's just one. I mean, he's from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were one
Makes
of the schools,
sense.
They were one of the schools. He
they have a
visited.
defense they'd like to improve.
They're one of the schools he visited, and if that's the case, I think Ohio State should reach out to Corey Foreman from USC, the former #1 defensive lineman in the class of 2021, who was the only defensive lineman ranked ahead of JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, and say, "Hey, we need a reclamation project at defensive end. Why don't you guys just flip flop?" I mean, that's just me.
It's
spitballing.
time for
a
a
trade.
switcheroo.
The trade.
It's time for a
We're-
switcheroo.
We're trading now.
I'm just saying.
I love it.
I think
We haven't
that-
got to that point in college football
I
yet.
think
It's coming.
you get to a point where a lot of these kids are not the ones making these demands.
It's their family
Right.
advisors.
They're advisors.
So I feel at times kind of bad for them, but it is what it is. This is the world we're in now. He's got a week to figure it out.
It felt like a month ago JT was more likely than not to return. I feel the opposite way right now.
Okay.
Now, when you talk about Alfred and Trey, I mean, is that just something they can keep Alfred and not do anything to next Monday?
I don't think there's anything. I don't think that this is a
Are
situation.
you surprised that there haven't been any decisions made on the coaching staff, at least?
I think
There's
that
rumors of it coming this week, but
the AFCA is happening this weekend. It's still going on. I think that
That's where you go and lobby for jobs. You
right.
need to know.
And so I think Ryan Day probably, at least by our understanding, there were conversations on Friday that said this is at least in the realm of possibility for you guys. So we've heard that coaches who had not been there in a few years are there. So they're at least taking a look. But I think that we talked about it on the morning's podcast daily. Ryan Day is very interested, it seems, in bringing in an offensive coordinator to pick his own guys. But I think that those guys that are currently there, the Alfreds, the Justin Frys, Keenan Baileys, are going to get an opportunity to keep their jobs if
And they should.
and they should.
is that normal to say I'm going to pick an offense coordinator and he's going to have his own staff?
Well,
And I mean, I know Ryan and him are going to work together to get a staff, but to kind of say I'm waiting until we do this so he can have a say.
I think this has come up where when Ryan Day brought in Jim Knowles, said, well, you're going to have input over your staff in the hiring process. But that is not fully true because Larry Johnson would not, and I don't think would continue have been Jim Knowles' pick for defensive line coach. I don't think that their philosophies match up very well. I don't know that Jim Knowles would have plucked Tim Walton, which has been one of the
Tim's been great.
better hires of
Coach,
the Ryan
he just
Day
landed
era.
Got the hot hand right now.
know
dirty Devin
They had
Sanchez.
they had no
He's
connection.
on the other one too, right?
Like there was no
natural connection.
You didn't know
tie to
anybody.
that.
Yeah, there was no.
And so I'm not sure that I would say that actually was the case, that Jim Knowles has had full control over that original hiring process or what has since happened there. And I don't think that that's the way it should be for the coordinators. They're not the ones that are going to make $10 million. It's not their legacy, not their career. The buck stops with Ryan Day. I think he's got to be the one to make those decisions. That's where I'm coming at.
That's kind of how I feel. Like, it just seems weird to me that the head coach wouldn't be like, no, I'm going to pick all my guys and make sure that they work I'm going to make sure they work well together in a way, but I'm going to pick and get who I want in here, who I think is best.
I think what ends up happening is that stuff gets lost in translation sometimes between Will have input in hiring his own staff versus Will make all his own decisions.
Yes.
And I think
100%.
that when
Here's a couple of options.
Yeah.
Which one would you like?
right, the conversation may be, hey, we're going to let you choose your staff, but that doesn't mean that Ryan Day is going to be like, and I'm not going to have any say in the matter. I just don't buy that.
I
at
get
all.
final approval of
Right.
all of these hires, or I can bring you a collective.
Well, I'm just thinking, is he doing that
I think
so
you
that he
call
gets
them
rid of
Berm a
people?
basket of deplorables, and you can choose what you want.
Well, you don't want deplorables on your staff.
No, you need some
You need some
shankability.
shankability. Come
You need
on,
a
Austin,
basket
you know
of
that.
uplorables.
I
Even the
need some
coaches, you
dudes.
need
I need
somebody.
some Juwan Howards out there that are willing to punch another coach.
As long as you have a Phil Martelli to once a week give the job to. Be like, actually, today I'm not the coach.
Yes,
This guy is.
Hey, thanks for that.
I'm not allowed in Philly.
Penn State money
I'm
line.
not allowed in Philly.
Thank you for that. That was easy money on Saturday. You said that we did not talk about Will Howard enough in the first segment.
So tell me more, Berm, about Billy Howard.
What do you want to know?
He's calling him Willie Heisman already.
Yeah. Willie Heisman, yes.
You don't come to Ohio State as a quarterback in your 4th year unless you're planning on being in New York to represent for the Heisman Trophy. That's what he's going to do.
There's probably truth to that.
That's what he's gonna. We went straight to the bold P.
How much different do you think the offense looks with him?
I don't know. Who's the offense coordinator? I mean, it's still going to be – that's the bigger question. How much does this new offense coordinator get to input in the offense? I mean, it's still Ryan Day's offense, but is this guy just adding wrinkles?
How many new coaches do you think are going to be on staff?
I mean, at least 3, probably
Really?
4.
Really?
I was thinking 4.
Probably 4.
Okay.
I mean, it's a substantial change, but it's what has to happen.
I didn't say. Listen,
we talked about it last week. Sometimes things just stagnate, and that's when you talk about Tony Alford, he's done a fine job. It's not like
he's done a great job of holding that room together. All the different guys.
It's not like you can look at it and be like, this guy's not done his job. It's just at some point after 9 years, 10 years, you go, maybe we need a different voice. Maybe we need, sometimes you just need a little
perspective,
fresh blood.
And it's not because he's lost effectiveness. He's one of the first people that were called for other jobs on Ohio State staff this offseason. It's not that Tony has got to go. It is that maybe Tony is ready to go, and that there are going to be other options available to him, maybe in a adjoining state at a place where he's already worked before. I don't know.
Anything's possible. The reality is that every once in a while you need a change, and this is what we talked about a week ago. Urban Meyer's assistants were there for 2 years and they were out.
Because that's a little bit,
Sure, you're working for Urban Meyer. You don't want to. Yeah. I get it. But
they get burned out. But they're doing good, so they have other opportunities.
What juncture?
If you take a flamethrower to a candle, it disappears pretty quickly. That wax just
Ohio State.
It is the most effective way to get rid of
it. Gets a lot of fire though. It burns really bright.
There's just not a situation where you can look at it and go, this guy should be an assistant coach here forever. I just don't buy that. I mean, you are moving up or you are standing still. I'm a believer in the idea that if you're not moving forward, you're dying. Okay?
I just hope I have a
positive
future.
burn.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I don't think that there's anything bad if, like, hey, I'm happy with where I'm at. I do a really good job with what I do. You talk about, like, stagnant. I mean, you're still recruiting at a high level. Is your room still really good? Is it still productive? I mean, would you like different input? Okay. I mean, do they still go around and meet with other schools and do that stuff and see what's going on?
Those are big questions. I don't know.
I mean, that's, you can find other ideas if you're looking for, innovation ideas. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big believer in change for just change's sake. Like, get a new voice in the room. I mean, Luke Fickell was here for a decade. I don't think Luke needed to leave.
But he was moving up. He just started. He was elevating the whole time, and that's the difference.
When you say elevating, like
he was elevating his position on the staff, he was elevating his authority. He started.
Authority.
He came in as a special teams coordinator, didn't he?
Well, I know that, but then he was linebacker coach, and then he was the coordinator for like 5 years.
Right, but this is what it comes down to. What Austin's saying, like maybe this is a decision that Tony Alford could say, "Hey, I want to interview for this job." Maybe he could say, "Hey, I've hit my ceiling here, and that's time to move on." I mean, I don't think you can begrudge a guy for that, but I also think that you, as Ryan Day, like you have to be able to go to Travion Henderson and say, "Hey, we understand you love Coach Alford, but this is Ohio State. We're going to replace him with a great running backs coach, and maybe
Eddie George."
Maybe
on the other side of the ball, you do that. I mean, you have to massage that D line a little bit as well.
I mean, you're going to have these are why you get paid $10 million to have these tough decisions and tough discussions.
Oh, it's not just having you got to be solutions oriented. Like there has to be a viable solution on the
obviously.
backside.
You don't just be like, well, we got a ton of problems here, and I've just talked about them, so give me my money. You actually have to have the answer for them.
Okay, the answer's to the test. I like that.
But every time they think they have the answer,
Will Howard's going to be good.
I changed the question.
He's going to be good.
But think about a guy like that.
I've seen his highlights.
6'5", 240 plus pounds. He's never had anyone around him like he's going to have at Ohio State. Multiple.
Oh, that little running back they had, Deuce. What's his name?
Deuce Vaughn.
Right. 6th round pick. Cool. I mean, he's 5'5".
I love how Berm just craps on everybody.
He's 5'5".
Cool.
Good running back.
Great.
He's little. He's
good.
short.
Good running back.
Well, Deuce Vaughn or Travion Henderson plus maybe Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, like he's 5'5", and he played great. I'm not knocking the kid for the work he did. He's a good running back. He's in the NFL, I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's at least on the roster somewhere for the Cowboys. But his dad works there. I mean, it's not like
people give jobs all the time for family members.
Nepo tailback.
Point is, like, you have to have guys around you to elevate to that next level. I mean, Will Howard's never had anything like what he's going to have at Ohio State, and the stuff you see on film, Like he's a little gunslingery at times, but also I think like of his 10 interceptions this year, I think 4 of them were on 3rd or 4th down.
Well, they weren't very good as a
don't-
roster either this year.
There's stuff that I don't.
I'd go look at his 2022 tape, which was, I think, a lot better because they had a better team.
One of the picks against Texas, and Landis put this in his breakdown at OhioState.Rivals.com, was like Kansas State receiver on a deep ball, literally dropping it and then just putting it right into a Texas safety's lap.
Here,
Like, that counts against. That counts against.
Oh yeah, all
Howard.
picks count the same,
and that's fine.
There's times where you don't see a guy and you throw it right to him. There's also times your receiver's like, hit him, tipped it right up in the air to
Or
the
they
safety.
don't run their route and you throw the ball there and they pick it.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't. I think you can look at those things and objectively go, okay, this maybe wasn't as egregious as the number looks, but people are going to look at it and say Common had a higher QBR. Common threw from a touchdown.
He also threw to Marvin Harrison.
He also threw to Marvin
I could throw some of those balls. It's not a knock on Kyle, but I could throw some jump balls up to Marv.
I think the only all-conference player on the Kansas State offense was the fullback.
So he was good though. I liked him.
What's the history on this quarterback? Where's he from?
He's from West Philly.
West Philadelphia. I was born and raised.
He's from
Downington, Pennsylvania.
Downington, Pennsylvania.
Downington.
I spent most of my days.
It's between Philly and Hershey. I mean, he was a 3-star kid coming out of high school, 6'5".
We love those Philly quarterbacks, don't we?
He's a big, hardworking kid, and
he's really big. He's a good He's a good 2-inch installer, man.
Yeah, I mean,
like he's broad. I thought he was a tight end when I first saw him at the Woody. I thought he was
6'5", 240,
the kid from OU when he first was walking through Ohio University. Like, I'm like
the tight end that got added last week.
Yeah, he's like broad shoulder, 6'5", big kid. Looks good, like physical.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You obviously add an element to the offense with him in there. The running
Q power, baby.
It's
bring
it
back.
It's you like
dust it off. Bring
you
it
like
back.
quarterback power? You like quarterback counter?
Oh, I love those.
Here it comes. That's why
Can't wait.
a little dash of JT back in there is what I
love a good Barrett.
As long as he wins like JT did, that's all that matters, right?
There is something though, like being able to have that in your repertoire on a 3rd and 3. Defensively, like you always have to scheme up for it.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to go too high here? Do we try to double and move around to cover these wide receivers? If we do, someone better beat a block because we don't have an extra guy. Like, we'd better make sure we're winning up
Puts
front.
That pressure on the defense,
and
especially when you have all the weapons on the outside and everything else they have to worry about.
And it's not like he's a guy that you're going to be able to tackle with one arm. Like, he's a big dude. Like, you're going to have to cleanly hit him to stop momentum.
And even if you do hit him, he could fall forward for 2 yards because he's almost 6'6". So there's a lot to like about him physically. And game-wise, he's going to have a lot on his plate at Ohio State he hadn't had on him at Kansas State. But I think that a player like that coming from K-State, you go into the games there in Manhattan, Kansas, and like, I have to win this by myself. You don't have.
Did he think Manhattan was Manhattan, New York?
I doubt it.
That would have been tough.
I doubt it as someone who.
Where's the big city?
I bet
an elaborate ruse.
Growing up in West Philly, I'm sure he's been to the actual Manhattan before.
How many times are you going to keep calling it West Philly before Landis just punches you in the nuts?
Bill has COVID. He's not going to do anything.
Did you give him COVID? Try to finish him off?
I don't know.
Put his business out there like that? Come on, man.
Everyone's heard him on the show for the last week. He has no function. We've had
no function.
I thought his resolution was to start smoking cigarettes.
No, we've got him hooked up to a machine. He's just
a defibrillator.
Yeah, the button where you talk and it talks for you.
Oh, like the deal he presses.
Yeah. That's where we've gone. That's fun. I don't know how he got that sick. We were all in Dallas at the same time together, and I mean,
I got a cotton bowl cold, but I did not get COVID.
I feel right.
Cotton
I
bowl
feel right.
cold.
Right as the mail. I told these guys to start taking vitamin D, but they just won't listen to me, Bob.
Well, I mean, everybody's a little different. The
gonna
vitamin D's nuts.
I'm going to go get some sun in Florida next week, and then I'll be perfectly fine.
I bet you don't get a Disney cold. That's what you do.
Are there any more? Are you going to Disney?
Yeah, we're going back.
Oh goodness,
going back.
Are there any more surprises? Anything else on the horizon?
Yeah, of course. There's a ton of surprises. It's November or January 8th.
It's what?
What?
Did you guys see today? And now this is how we can almost feel certain in a higher power. There were now it hasn't come to fruition yet.
Oh boy.
But there's a bunch of tornado warnings in Houston, Texas today, right now.
Oh.
So if the good Lord above happens to be an Ohio State fan, well, boys, we're not seeing a national championship game tonight.
Oh.
You know
I don't know. AK's on the screen. They're right there. I think we're all right. McAfee.
Yeah, but they're
not.
Well, that's what the game's going to be.
They don't know what's happening
They're
outside.
up high indoors. They're not.
Yeah, the
That's
game,
the worst place you could be.
The game is going to be inside.
Do you think AJ and McAfee care about tornado warnings?
AJ hasn't cared about tornado warnings for years.
He's from Centerville, Ohio. He's lived with tornado warnings his whole life.
He just turned 40 on Saturday. He didn't care when they were storming the Capitol on his birthday. He joined them. He was all in.
Days without tornado warnings were the worst days for him.
Without tornado warnings.
Just a boring day.
When you grew up in Centerville, you're like, oh, man.
Where's that tornado?
I got to go out and rope those tornadoes today.
What else is happening? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to go on in Ohio State
I'm just
football
curious as
between
a
here
surprise.
and-
You think 4 coaches. I thought 2, maybe 3. You're telling me there'll be 4 potential changes.
I'm saying there could be upwards of 5, probably. I mean, it just
upwards
depends on
of 5.
It depends on who the offensive coordinator is and
What about Dan Mullen?
What options
do
do
we
we
heard
have out
about
there?
him?
I mean, it's out there.
Is he the one?
It's a rumor.
It's out there. It's a rumor. Listen, I'm not going to
Hold on,
other
I'm gonna
websites
put my
where
name
there's,
out there
It's a
where
rumor.
there's rumors and
I'm
ruses.
trying not to we talked about it ad nauseum on this morning show.
Yeah, but this is.
But you don't listen to the morning show, Bob. You need to listen to the podcast daily when you're on your way to the fan at 6
He
a.m.
doesn't feel the need. He's sitting here talking to us
I
right
come
now.
to get my questions answered this way. I mean, I want to line up with
Okay,
what you're hearing with what I'm hearing.
As we said on the show this morning, which you didn't listen to, there's a lot of conversation happening emanating from the Woodrow right now.
When you say emanating from, is there a loudspeaker out there? Was this like World War II when Hitler's just blasting his propaganda?
I actually walk up
kind of feels
outside. I take a glass, I turn it around, and I just lean up against the wall.
But that's one thing that's
how
not,
I try and get my.
That's
headphones.
one thing that doesn't seem to be being discussed in a vocal.
It's the most tightly guarded secret. Everything else you can kind of.
Well, there's one guy who makes the decision.
100%, and he does not want whatever the plan is for the offensive coordinator role to be revealed until he is ready to do so. So however he's acting, we do not know. It has been suggested to us by multiple people that Dan Mullen is an option here. He wants to get back into coaching. He's got head coaching experience. He's been an offensive
He's a really good
coordinator.
offensive coordinator.
He's also had running quarterbacks like Will Howard and used them quite effectively. I think you can make a legitimate case that he would make sense for Ohio State. Does that mean we think he's absolutely the top target or that there are advanced conversations? I do not know that. But that name is not being brought up for no reason, I don't believe. So we'll see.
Oh, he's available, and he's on.
Available, and it works for the quarterback they're going to have next year. But moving forward, is that the quarterback? I mean, Ryan really hasn't recruited.
But it doesn't matter because if Dan Mullen comes to Ohio State and the Buckeyes get back to doing what they're supposed to do and win the Big Ten and beat Michigan and end up in the national championship game, Dan Mullen will be a head coach in a year and it won't matter and you find another one.
Will he be a head coach? He doesn't like to recruit, really. So
no,
they don't need him to.
I hear they don't need. That's my point. That's the perfect spot.
But you don't need him to elsewhere either if you get him in a spot that has a good enough NIL situation.
They went to Florida. It didn't work out all that well there.
They didn't have NIL.
There was a direct quote I heard that came out of a staff meeting. It said, once we start winning, Florida will recruit itself. Didn't
get to that point.
Yeah.
But I don't even
worth a shot.
Honestly,
they didn't start winning.
I don't think that factors into this conversation for Ohio State at all. The recruiting part is already done. A lot of the transfer portal work is already done. This person, whoever it is, has to make sure that Ohio State wins in 2024. Anything beyond that literally does not matter. Ryan Day's career is in these next 12 months.
Her life is in your hands, dude.
So you have to go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Does he trust Dan Mullen enough to put his life in Dan Mullen's hands? And that's,
is he going to trust anybody enough? I mean, he has enough to this point.
That's what we don't know. I mean, it's going to be.
Have you ever served in a forward operation? Ask the man to put his life in your hands and you to put yours in another.
You need somebody.
I've seen things you couldn't even possibly imagine.
Up there.
Somebody's got to be on that wall, Bob.
I feel like that's maybe Colonel Jessup's the guy that we need to come in. Do you feel like? I'm just going a lot of the stuff, the questions that get fired at me at social media. Sure. I talked to Schlegs, the other day about this, and they were talking about, look at the late game collapses. They had tried to attribute the Cotton Bowl to a lack of strength and conditioning prowess, or the fact that the offense wasn't running any plays. So inevitably the defense was going to get tired. So because there's not that big of a difference between 36 minutes of possession and 24. I'm like, I understand that the time-wise – they'll tell you this, but I go, it wears you down, bud. There's a reason why.
It's 33% more.
People are nuts.
That's pretty significant.
Believe me, it's 12 minutes. I'm like, it's not like you're watching TV for 12 minutes, dude. Exactly. I go, you're on your feet, you're standing.
Like it's double jeopardy and you're just waiting to get to final jeopardy.
Yeah, there's a lot there. But I'm just trying to kind of lean in. I don't see any changes probably happening on that side. And I don't.
There is going to be one.
Okay. Look at you.
On strength and conditioning side?
No. Oh, on the strength side?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I thought you said defense.
I think he was talking
No.
I thought you were talking about the wear down.
I thought you talked about
no. That's not
Sorry.
happening.
Whoa,
Yeah, you said strength and conditioning. I was like,
no, my mistake.
I mean,
scratch that.
I saw all the guys today.
Yeah.
They looked alive and well.
I'm not saying that.
If Mick Marotti's making changes
corrected.
to his staff, that's up to Mick
Yeah,
Marotti.
Mick does that,
Mick
right.
Marotti's not going anywhere.
Okay, believe me, that's what I thought. And then he was like, "There's gonna be one." I'm like,
no.
I thought he was talking defensive.
Thankfully, Jay-Z was on the same page, so I wasn't completely lost. But
"Do you think
anyway.
Leonidas is back?"
yeah, I do think he will be back.
Okay.
We've got national championship game tonight.
Yeah.
It's two Big Ten teams. Pretty cool for the conference, right?
Does Washington bring the trophy with them if they win?
Absolutely, they do.
B1G. They're going to go drop
Do
it
they
off
get to
in
keep
Chicago.
all the money from this game because there's only two teams in that
There's
conference
a lot of.
Oh, they actually don't get to keep any of that. It's all going to the Pac-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get nothing. They just
that's right. Yeah,
they get what they bring in next year.
Well, half.
Should we do predictions
They get half
for
of
the
that.
game, or like what do you think?
Bold predictions.
Not bold. Just who wins?
I think you got Washington 31-27.
I was going to say that same score, but I was going to say Michigan.
Oh.
I think it's 31-24, 31-27. Well, fair.
35-24 Michigan will win.
I think Washington is the team of destiny.
Ooh.
They will win.
They're
34.
If they can keep him
31.
upright and clean in the pocket,
He's good.
I think they have a real good chance. But based off of that Alabama game, I think that defense of
I
Michigan
just
is
watched
fired.
all year.
Destiny's
as
Child.
Weird things happen for Michigan that you just like. How does the ball bounce that way? How does the defensive back's foot be out of bounds for a half a second before?
But some of that's happened to Washington too. Like they've just found a way to win. Every time you're like, "Oh, this is it. They're losing. They're playing bad," and they've just found a way.
Yeah.
That's what Birmingham got tired of me talking about that Arizona State game, but it was one of the more bizarre ones I've watched all year for Washington.
I just want to see a good football game, and I hope everyone has fun.
You just already wish that it got hit by a tornado.
Well, now that the tornado threat is apparently passed, I guess.
No, it's passed now.
I guess I need to change my tune.
All right,
So they all have fun.
Yeah, everyone has a great
get a
time.
little exercise.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone enjoys watching it. Maybe you can do that at Roosters.
One of these two teams is going to win this championship game.
Is it the
and they're
dub or
gonna be
the
able
M?
and they're going to be able to keep
Hey,
that championship.
by the way, can we talk before
One
we
of
just
these
get
two
out of here?
teams.
Jay-Z, because you played quarterback. The thought of override, because as soon as I start, anytime I think of dubs and eating dubs, I honestly think of Jameis Winston. The thought of you being up 3 touchdowns and overriding your coach on a victory knee to score an
That's the last
additional
play of the season.
the last play of his career in the New Orleans too.
Yeah, that was ugly. Yeah.
That was remarkable.
Falcons
Instead, our
coach is
team
not
vote.
happy.
The best part is if
Team
you're gonna do it, don't ask the coach because you can't ask him. He says no, and then you vote on it and override him anyway
In the huddle.
in the huddle. And I understand like Arthur Smith and those guys going back. And I would have been furious too. And I also would have said, "Hey, my guy's a jackass."
He's strong.
I'm sorry.
I think he was trying to be like, I know. Like,
He's
they did
strong
that on
then.
there.
He's strong then.
Don't worry about it. He's been doing it since college. All right,
Let's get
enjoy
out of here.
the national championship game. We will talk about everything else still going on with Ohio State when we're back here next week in the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. That's Jay-Z, Bob, Berm. Thanks to Nicole Cox for having us back into the Horseshoe Lounge. We'll see you next week. Talk to you then.